What's up, everybody? How we doing? Welcome, for some of you, to another edition. Some of you to the first edition. Virtual school. Tonight, well, it's night. We're going to talk about how to survive boredom. So, I know that this isn't necessarily the strictest of lessons, but I think it's really important that we have a little chat about how to do stuff. So I was looking through your attendance, and I gave you a little section where you can comment about how you're doing, and I totally made up statistic. 95% of you said that you were already bored 2 days in. So I think that we need to go over some ways that we can fight that. I'm going to have some suggestions. My first tip is pretty straightforward. 1, make a routine. By establishing a routine, it allows you to set a precedent for the day that starts you off on the right foot. I like to start with a nice cup of coffee. So I go downstairs, I make it, I get everything ready. I love the smell. Excuse me for a minute. And then I go about my day by picking a mug, making sure I got the right one. And then after I have my cup of coffee and I enjoy it, I'm ready to go out and tackle whatever else there is in the day. By establishing this order right at the beginning, it sets you up for success in the rest of the day. And although it does seem that a routine could get stagnant after a while, you'll find that it actually does help pass the time, knowing that you have specific things that you have to do at specific points during the day. It's kind of like class in that way, where it seems really slow every day, but when you look back, it's really flown. So now that you're thinking about how you can set up your own routine, what are you going to do in that routine? I don't know. As a lit teacher, I think you should probably do some reading. So I picked a couple. They're in no particular order, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to do this whole thing in one take, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to split it up. Probably something like this. You in my sophomore class have definitely heard me talk about this one. It might hit a little close to home. It's about the aftermath of society after it gets ravaged by a virus called the Georgian flu that takes out almost everybody. Now, it's not like your typical post-apocalyptic book in that it deals with how they rebuild society several years after, like 20 years or so after, maybe 10. And it follows a traveling band of performers who feel like they, as the back cover says, must dedicate themselves to keeping the remnants of art and humanity alive. It used to be on every junior summer reading list, and I don't really know where it's gone, but it's one of those books that I have never really laughed out loud so much reading it for such a deadly serious topic. I also picked it up because there was a band that I really liked in high school called Catch-22. It tells the story of an aircraft bomber squadron in Italy during the World War II, and how they have to figure out a way to survive every single day when they know they're going to die. Listen to me. I love sci-fi. And if you've never heard me talk about this book, you haven't been paying attention. This is probably one of the greatest sci-fi books ever written. Frank Herbert's Dune. It sets up a fantastic future world in which everything is controlled by a single spice that grows on a single planet in the entire universe. Everything depends on it. It talks about the rise and fall first, then rise, of a spurned royal family, and it reads a lot like Game of Thrones. So if you like Game of Thrones, this is Game of Thrones in space, but way better. Also, there's a movie coming out at some point next year, so you should probably read it ahead of time. Russ, a graphic novel comic book? Are you crazy? I am crazy. You should know that. It's not the easiest of reads, partly because it's visual and that doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. But Watchmen forces us to take a look at who watches those people that are supposed to keep us safe. It is a great study using superheroes to tell invented superheroes to tell a story about the end of the world. Are you guys sensing the theme here? A lot more picked out, but this video is getting a little bit long talking about books right now, and I got a lot of other stuff I want to talk about. So if you like short stories, single sitting kind of things, Ray Bradbury's The Illustrated Man is a great one. It does have an overarching narrative, but it's the individual small stories that make it shine. Most people have read a lot of these throughout their time, like Kaleidoscope, one of my favorites. The City, All Summer in a Day. If you're in my sophomore class, we're probably going to take a look at that one over the course of this break because it mixes really well with the Emerson stuff that we're playing with. So strap in. It's a good short read in sittings. That's probably more books than we're going to be away for. And I know that you guys like shorter, more digestible entertainment sometimes. So here's a couple movies that I recommend. You'd be saying to yourself, isn't that a book? And you'd be right, but it's one hell of a book. So this movie tries to do it justice, but it's nearly 3-hour runtime. It does make for a long watch, but it's really good and tells a lot of interesting interwoven narratives that span from the 1800s through the apocalypse to just after. Everybody's interconnected, and death is but a door. Fan of Jack London. He's an American author. He's one of the reasons I really like American lit. And he wrote a book called Call of the Wild, which is about a dog who gets picked up and sent to Alaska and basically turns himself into a wolf. It's a fantastic read. The Gray is one of the closest things to a Jack London story that I've ever seen on film. It deals with what we do in the face of insurmountable odds stacked against us, and how, even when we know that we can't win, that we need to keep fighting. With any luck, most of you have seen this movie already. It's about a young girl who gets separated from her parents and enters a special magical world just next to our own, and how she is forced to grow up through unprecedented circumstances. Rarely do we find a story so tightly told and so well constructed as we do with Spirited Away. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I highly recommend it to everybody. Now's the perfect time to watch it, when you all have a lot of growing up to do. There's a remake of a short story that if you took my junior class last year, we read it. It's a story about what happens when you daydream too much and you get lost in those daydreams and you forget where you are and the world around you. It's about a man who harnesses his world and takes action for himself where he never thought he could do it before. Works. Maybe you've seen all those movies before. Fine. Maybe you are more cultured and like to play video games. Let's talk about the long haul. Just a quick word, PS4 for life. All you Xbox losers, get out of here. Old school, but I think that video games are a solitary medium that should only be experienced by the player in a basement, in the dark, by himself when he's trying to ignore his parents. So my first pick is God of War. If you've been in my classroom, you know that I've got a little Kratos statue sitting in the back. And now that I'm a father, playing this game really hits differently. It is the story of a father and son who go on a long quest to bury their mother. Well, not his mother, his wife, but the boy's mother. And it's a whole big thing. It's also Norse mythologically based, so like I'm all in on that. Let's go. Bam. I know I said PS4 for life, but I bought a Switch to play this one. This is one of the best games ever made. It tells the story about this little dude right here who's trying to put society back together after it falls apart from a great cataclysmic event. He runs around, gets some cool swords, is a beautiful, expansive world that tells a simplistic story, not unlike Spirited Away or another Miyazaki film called Princess Mononoke, which I also recommend, but I didn't put that one in before. You're going to give me heat for this one, but this is the perfect game for our time right now. It tells a story about, just imagine if you can't go outside and all you have is the internet, but you've got like dial up, and it's about this guy whose job is to deliver packages to all these people living out in the wild and set them up with some sweet Wi-Fi. The gameplay itself does have some issues, I'll grant you that, but the world is astounding, beautiful, and realized. And it's very similar to one that we might be heading towards right now. It's just a gorgeous game that offers challenges that are different from what other games offer. There's a social aspect to it that you're linked up with anonymous players and you work together in order to solve these problems. Oh, I'm happy you asked. Roll it. Go for a walk. Take a nap. Make dinner. Work out. Lightweight. Lightweight. Clean. Clean again.
Oh my God, Daddy!
Cool.
Worms!
Dig for worms. Read a book with your cat. Or, I don't know, do your homework. Whatever you wind up doing, make sure that you stay healthy, you stay happy, you stay occupied. Because I don't know when we're getting back. Oh, I had a couple questions about what the pictures were behind me. So this I got at the Whaling Museum, and it's a whale, and he's being killed. This is Ernest Hemingway. This is Walt Whitman. And this is my great-grandfather's discharge papers from World War One. And then this is Herman Melville, and this is Steve Zissou. Have a fun time.